Everyone, welcome to the November board of NHS Direct, NHS Trust. It's very nice to see everybody here today. It's great that we seem to have a full house around the table of people who we were expecting despite the tube strike. So that's even better. I'd like to remind people of a couple of things. So I'd like to welcome everybody who's watching our board being streamed online, and I'd like to invite people who are doing that to fill in the evaluation form afterwards, please, so that we can make that better. I would also just like to say that, of course, it's a working meeting, not a performance. So, there will be some rustling of papers and there will be cups of coffee and so on. But we will do our best to give a good experience to the people who are watching online, including please turning off our phones. Apparently even the silent mode has been interfering with the broadcast, so if we could turn
I'm just
off our
on
phones.
call, Joanne, so
Okay, so you get dispensation.
But I can give my phone to someone else to...
Yeah, that would be very good, thank you.
I'll do that.
Okay, good. So beginning with apologies for absence from Trevor Jones, our Deputy Chair, who is in Northumberland, presumably waist-deep in snow, I would imagine. So he's not with us today. I trust that on his holiday he's watching us online. I have not been informed of any declarations of interest for any item on this agenda. If there's anything anyone wants to tell me about now, that's fine. No? Okay. Then let's move on quickly to the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 18th of October. Are there any matters of accuracy in the minutes? Nick?
6.1.5. I noted that the cost of setting up an NHS Direct home worker compared unfavourably with the cost incurred by a similar service in Australia. It was more expensive for us to do it than it was in Australia.
Oh, interesting. I think I had misunderstood the point.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
so,
perhaps I didn't make it very clear, but
so what you're saying is
it's about three times more expensive to do it here than the equivalent in Australia.
Okay, well that's
so
worth us
I
knowing.
invited Alan to have an investigation about why that might be.
Indeed, I noted the similar
Right. Oh, good.
misrepresentation in the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are investigating.
Are there any other matters of accuracy? No? Action points should all be captured in the action list, so we'll have a look at that. I think there are a couple of small things that I noted that aren't on the action list, which I will ask about. But perhaps I could ask you, Nick, just to take us through it quickly and highlight anything you think we should be aware of.
Well, I think in summary, all of the actions that are on the action list are either been completed and are therefore closed, or they're green. So I don't think there's actually anything I need to highlight.
Okay. So can I just ask my two small questions? One of which relates to point 4.2 in the minutes, which was a review of the West Yorkshire Urgent Care Service about to be commissioned. Could you update us on that?
I can. It has yet to be commissioned. So I will report to the board in my Chief Executive's report next time on the resolution of that.
Good, thank you. And another thing which perhaps comes under the general heading of note to self. Roger, I don't think you and I have got a date in the diary yet to visit the Bedford site.
I don't think we have.
Which we're going to do.
Which we are absolutely going to do.
Because I went with the MP and I felt that as a result of focusing on that, I didn't have enough time to talk to staff, so we're going to go back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's organise that. Ruth.
Joanne, there's action 10B.105E2.
So say that again, more slowly. 10B 105 E2. Okay, yeah.
So the more detailed paper to the board on specific projects, that hasn't specifically been closed. Whilst there is some detail in the programme boards, we did agree that we would arrange a more detailed update in a board meeting and also a board seminar on some of the innovation projects.
Okay.
So that's in planning.
It's in progress. Right, that's fine. Good. Anything else on action log that anyone wants to ask? Let's move on then to my favourite item, report of the Chair's recent engagements. Vic, you were involved in most of those, I think, or many of them. Is there anything you particularly think is noteworthy?
I think the first. Well, it's obviously difficult to pick out of a distinguished list to highlight one over the other is potentially career limiting. But I think the one that I think was really very interesting, perhaps more so than the others, was our discussion with Ian Watmore, where it was on the cusp of the government's initiative on making more use of digital channels. Yeah. And Ian Watmore was clearly very interested in our discussion of where we thought health could benefit from use of digital channels other than simply the telephone. And I thought that there was a great resonance there with what with his vision, and I think the government's vision of what digital can do. So I think that was it was useful and helpful, and we'll see what comes of it. But it's nice to have our views kind of echoed in terms of the broader government agenda.
Yeah, no, I agree with that assessment. And the other one perhaps I'd pick out is the panel that I sat on at the eHealth Insider conference and exhibition, which was interesting. And so that included somebody from an acute trust, somebody from the CFO of Circle Health, who subsequent to that have got the contract for Hinchinbrook. And it was a very interesting discussion. It wasn't a huge audience, but it was quite a distinguished audience, actually, because Christine Connolly was there in the audience and Maureen Baker from the RCGP, and that was nice because it gave us an opportunity to talk to both of those. So I think that was worth doing, actually. Fine. Roger?
Thanks, Chair. I was interested in your meetings with Stephen Dorrell, who you seem to be getting to know quite well. I was particularly interested in when you met him in relation to the letter that he sent to the Secretary of State from the Health Select Committee.
Yes.
Where and what the relationship between your meeting and that letter was, if any.
Okay. So the meeting was arranged before the letter, number one. Number two, I think that it is true. seem to be seeing Stephen Dorrell fairly frequently. I suspect that is more a reflection of him making a particular effort to get out and about, and he is exceptionally visible at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's on a lot of conference agendas, and it was very good to have an opportunity to speak to him one-to-one. So the meeting, as I say, was arranged before we received the letter. He explained the letter as being that his committee members had been very interested and somewhat concerned about the that report that NHS Direct was going to be abolished, which was wrong, and that the committee wanted to be reassured and to understand what was happening with NHS Direct. So I think he saw that as a process to be gone through rather than indicative of anything that we weren't otherwise aware of.
Thank you.
Okay. Fine. Let's then move on to the performance section of the agenda, beginning with Nick's report, Chief Executive's report, item 6.
Thank you. There are some items on the report that I'll very happily take questions on, but won't highlight anything in particular, so I'll just skip lightly over those if that's okay. The ones that I will mention quite briefly, first of all, the 111 update. I just want to record my thanks on behalf of the executive team for everybody who's worked on getting the 2 additional 111 Pathfinder sites working, as both in the East Midlands and East of England. We have 111 services now operating, and it's been a complicated but successful activity to get these working and available to the public. There's one slight correction, simply because it slipped due to reasons to do with the Secretary of State's visit to Luton. which is now due to take place on the 2nd of December. And that's when the public launch of the Luton site will be, not the 24th, as stated in my report. So I just wanted to record our thanks and to highlight the fact that the Secretary of State will be publicly launching the service on the 2nd of December. So that's the first item that I wanted to highlight. Second item is item 5 on Foundation Trust. Through my contacts with the Department of Health, I know that we are very shortly to receive letters from, that's Joanna and myself, respectively, from the Secretary of State and from Ian Dalton, but they haven't yet been received. The intention being to ask us to consider as a board, in the same vein as every other NHS trust has been asked to consider our future organisational form and the potential for making applications Foundation Trust. So I think there will be more on this subject, but we haven't yet. I was hoping we would have received the letters in time for the board meeting, but actually haven't, unfortunately. But I just wanted to flag it.
That is somewhat disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
Steve.
disappointing in what sense?
I think you meant disappointing in the sense that we would hope to have received the letters by now.
Yes, exactly. And it seems to me that it would have been good for the board to have been able to see it in Honours letters.
I mean, I think the issue in the past has been NHS Direct has been seen as something different from other trusts, and therefore there has been a history of it having to contend with what its destiny was. And one's hopeful that is not what this is all about, but so that sort of delay has worried the board in the past.
I think this is an administrative thing rather than a policy matter.
I mean, what may be of interest is, given the fact that NHS Direct is going to have to look at a transformation in the way it's structured and operates, is it easy then to go through this process, given those changes and those challenges?
No, I mean, I'm sure it's not. But I don't think that the process is an easy process under any circumstances. I suspect that existing in limbo without entering into the process is not a good place to be.
No.
So there's no doubt that the transformation which we require, which we'll be talking about later, particularly in the private part of the agenda, is going to be very important, and that the Foundation Trust process is a challenging one. But the quicker we move forward, the better for the NHS broadly, patients and the public, and for our organisation. So we had hoped to be able to give more positive news today.
Okay, I think I would like just to highlight the consultation that we have started on the closure of the Caterham site. This is a tactical move in the sense that we have received notification from the landlord informally that they will be giving us formal notice to quit, and we are taking the opportunity, therefore, of undertaking some further rationalisation of the estate for the organisation as a whole. We would be looking to redeploy all of the staff to other sites and potentially also to home working. So the consultation has started. I do not believe that the consequences of that consultation will be such that the decision needs to come back to the board formally. But I should be able to I will be able to clarify that for certain before the December board. So I'll either do a verbal report back at the board as to where we've got to, or bring a formal paper to the board asking for the board's approval for the outcome.
Tim.
Could you remind us, Nick, please, how many people are involved?
Thank you for asking that question. I haven't got that at my fingertips, but Ronette has.
There are, I usually have it at my fingertips, but I brought the wrong book with me today. There are 42 FTE at Caterham, so it's about 60